Sandy Neck staff working to save stranded turtles. We have details, and we get an update from Police Chief Paul McDonald on this episode of Barnstable Today. It's Tuesday, January 5th, 2016. I'm Sarah Mannel. 9 sea turtles are now being rehabilitated after being rescued on Sandy Neck Beach earlier today. Sandy Neck Beach Park manager Nina Coleman tells us 8 of the turtles rescued were loggerhead turtles and 1 was a Kemp's Ridley.
Big, what we like to call big juicy loggers are coming in now, and that's a really fun stranding to be involved with and try to rescue these animals.
Now you have a smile on your face.
I do.
I know it's really hard work for you. But what do you think that their prognosis is? I know you're not a vet,
right?
But how are they looking? Do you think that they're going to make it through?
These guys were all very active. In fact, the smallest one, we got the smallest one on last night's tide. We were out here between 9 and 10. That guy tried to bite Donna, so that's a good sign. And then the rest of these guys we plucked right out of the water. So the water, obviously the water temperature is warmer than the air temperature. So we got them right when we could, as quick as we could. They were very active. They are as best as you could expect for this time of year. And I have a lot of hope that we'll have some success with this many animals.
It is such a process for you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me a little bit about the process. You are watching the shore line all the time, making sure to spot one. What happens at the point where you spot one?
Okay, well, first we do have variables that come together. We do check, every tide that we can this time of year. But then when we have these big north winds, it's all about the winds pushing them in. So we ramp up our efforts and we'll come in the dark. We have big like spotlights that we use. So you freeze one arm off and stick it out the window, and we're watching the rack line from the last tide, and then we're watching the actual water line. So they could be in either of those places. So once we find an animal, they're usually flipped upside down. We get them up right side up, and we just rescue them. We just pick them up, and these big guys have to go in the back of the truck. We cover them up so they're not going to get any additional like windburn or frostbite, and get them into this garage as quick as possible. The garage has a heater. We're trying to keep them at about 50 right now, and then every day they take them up 5 degrees. So it's really tempting to just warm them up, but that would be the worst for these animals. You got to do it slowly, just like you would with a human, but even more so with these guys. We bring them up very slowly, get their bodies going again, and obviously once they get to the aquarium, they'll be looked at by a vet and see if there's any other issues here.
And which aquarium are they going to?
Well, right now they're going to the New England Aquarium. This has been a fairly big year. I believe we're like 500 Cape Wide, 550 plus. That number's always changing, but that's a lot of animals, so I'm not sure if they're going to need to ship these guys down. I was just talking to the Mass Audubon about that, and these guys take a lot of space because they can't be together. So I'm sure they have limited tanks there, and they may need to ship some of these animals to other rehab facilities.
And you can watch in-depth coverage of the turtle stranding this Friday on Barnstable This Morning. New Year's Eve is always challenging for law enforcement. Barnstable This Morning host Sarah Colvin got a chance to see how Barnstable fared with the recent holiday. With Police Chief Paul McDonald, we share that interview with you now.
A little snowy and slippery out there. Any reports of that causing any danger for folks out there on the roadways this morning?
It is a little slippery out there so far. We've only had one reported accident, a minor accident on West Main Street, but this is the first snow of the season, so we're telling everybody just please slow down, take your time, and make sure you have enough distance between yourself and the car in front of you, and there should be no problem. But the sanders are out there, and the roads are pretty good right now, but you still have to drive according to the weather conditions.
Absolutely. So, Chief, of course, it has been a couple of weeks since we've spoken. We've had some holidays in between. Of course, a New Year's Eve, a very significant, lots of people go out, lots of people stay out, lots of people indulge in adult beverages. So tell me a little bit about how things went for New Year's Eve here in Barnstable.
New Year's Eve itself, during nighttime, it went pretty smooth. We did did have additional patrols out there, additional traffic patrols out there looking for impaired driving. I do not believe we made any arrests whatsoever for operating under the influence of alcohol. So that was a good sign. People are finally get the message that if you do drive, that if you do drink, you cannot drive or have a designated driver with you. There was a significant arrest on New Year's Eve. The drug unit arrested Johnny Vuse, and he's an individual that we've been dealing with for the past 25 years, on and off again. He's been in and out of jail. Again, he was stopped at the corner of Burstway and Walton Avenue on New Year's Eve, and he was in possession of 16 grams of heroin. So that was a significant arrest, and he's a bad guy that we've been dealing with for a long time. It's good to get him off the street. And the other big arrest was on New Year's Day. We were dealing with a barricaded situation out in Austinville, West Barnstable Road, right at the Centerville-Austinville line out there. A distraught individual was in his home with a handgun, threatening his family. We were able to get the family out safely. We brought in some negotiators, and they were able to talk the individuals out. He was able to come out, turn the weapon over to us, and we were able to bring him down to CCH, and hopefully he'll get the treatment that he needs. So it was a somewhat of a calm weekend for what we usually expect to be dealing with, but we did have a couple of extraordinary events.
Indeed, and thinking about this time of year, we're past the holidays.
Yes.
It can be a stressful time of year. It can be an isolating and a dark time of year. So do we typically see kind of an uptick in these more emotionally charged incidents this time of year?
You do. It's historically right around Christmas. It starts around Thanksgiving, and as you go through Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's, we always see an increase with the number of incidents involving individuals who might have some mental health issues. This year it has not been that bad, but we're always prepared for it and ready to deal with it.
Absolutely. Chief, if I may, I've been seeing some reports on social media about a particularly nasty batch of heroin making its way across the state. Is that something that we are concerned about here in the town of Barnstable?
We are obviously extremely concerned about that. The opiate epidemic, is a huge concern to us. That's probably that. The homeless population is probably the two biggest problems that we're always dealing with. That particular batch, we are in contact with our neighboring police departments out in western part of the state. We have not seen it show up here on the Cape. We just did our year-end statistics for the overdoses for last year, and I believe we're up to 147 overdoses for the year with 11 fatalities. And actually, the month of December was probably our lowest number of overdoses. So that batch is out there, but however, it has not made down to the Cape yet.
So that number of about 147, how does that compare to the prior year, to 2014?
Hang on one second, I will get that for you.
Sure.
Overdoses. In 2014, we had 79 overdoses. In 2015, we had 146. The fatalities, in 2014, we had 11. In 2015, we had 11 fatalities again. So the number of fatalities remained the same. It was broken down. In 2014, it was 55 males and 24 females. In 2015, it was 113 males and 33 females. They would break it down by age, under 21 and over 21. In 2014, 4 of them were under 21, 75 were over 21. In 2015, there were 2 under 21 with 144 over 21.
Wow.
So it's really a broad spectrum.
Absolutely, and certainly, again, something as we're thinking about it and dealing with it is something that really touches all aspects of life here. So, Chief, obviously, can it continue to be a focus as we head into the 2016 year?
Well, as we go into the year-end results, we run our numbers and run our stats and see where we are. But I know our priorities, starting this year and going right through the year, is going to be dealing with the opiate epidemic and also dealing with the homeless population. One's more or less along the criminal lines, and the other one's a quality of life issue, but we have to address both of them.
Absolutely, and again, we've talked about this in the past, but especially on a day like today, where it is much colder than it has been, and the snow is falling. Certainly, the concern is raised for those folks who are living out in the woods. And I know that you and DPW and the Sheriff's Office did do a sweep of the camps recently, but we have seen sometimes those get rebuilt almost right away.
They do get rebuilt, but we have been down there over the last weekend. The weather was pretty good, so we did a couple of officers down there. They walked the woods. They walked through the known area where we know the camps are, and all of them were not inhabited. So hopefully they're either in the shelter or they're with family or friends somewhere, but they were not out in the woods. So that's a good sign.
And you can hear from Police Chief Paul McDonald every Tuesday morning during our 1-hour-long news program, Barnstable This Morning. That program airs weekdays at 8 a.m. right here on Channel 18. On tomorrow's show, we'll have our weekly Business Barnstable segment. We'll talk with Finance Director Mark Milne. Plus, we'll have all the news and information you need. For Barnstable Today, I'm Sarah Mantle.